Is Spain about to slam the door on foreign property buyers? A bombshell has dropped in the Spanish property market. The government is floating the idea of a massive 100% tax on non resident buyers from outside the EU. This isn't just a small increase, it would effectively double the cost of buying property for foreigners. This could have huge implications for the market, and in this video, we'll dive into the details and discuss what it all means and how it could impact you depending on your situation. Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money, where I share about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence, especially if that road is leading you to Spain. Well, the Spanish Prime Minister is making waves, announcing recently this new proposal to impose up to a 100% tax on those who live outside of the EU and want to buy a house or property in Spain. This would effectively double the purchase price for buyers from outside the EU. The first thing I want to make clear is that this is currently a proposal. It has not passed through legislation. In a little bit, I'll go over what people are saying about the likelihood of this actually taking effect. Spain, like many other countries, is facing a significant housing crisis, particularly in popular tourist areas and major cities. The Prime Minister believes that this proposed tax is a necessary step to address this crisis. They argue that by discouraging foreign buyers, they can free up more housing stock for Spanish residents and stabilize rising prices. So some of the impacts of this, if it were to be implemented, could be a reduced demand from foreign buyers, potential price drops in some areas, and there could be impact on the construction and real estate industries. Beyond the direct impact of the property market, there are concerns about how this proposal could affect Spain's overall image as an investment destination. Some fear that it could create a sense of instability and discourage other types of foreign investment, not just in real estate. This could have broader implications for the Spanish economy in the long term. Now, I am not a legal or tax expert, but from what I understand, this isn't as simple as just passing a new law. There's a big question mark over whether this tax would even be legal under EU rules. The EU has strict regulations about how money can move between countries, and a 100% tax on non-EU buyers might just cross the line. While the government has introduced this proposal, its actual passage is far from guaranteed. The potential for opposition from within Spain, particularly from regions reliant on foreign investment, combined with potential legal challenges from the EU, makes the political feasibility of this measure quite low in my opinion. It's possible this is more of a negotiating tactic than a concrete policy proposal. I was reading in an article that some see this as just a fear tactic being used by the Prime Minister in order to discourage foreign investment. By introducing such a drastic measure, the government could be attempting to pressure various stakeholders like landlords, developers, and even foreign investors to change their behavior. The potential benefit is that the mere threat of this tax could be enough to cool the market and address the housing crisis without the need to actually implement such a drastic policy. But investor confidence is crucial for any economy, and tactics like this can erode that confidence. By creating uncertainty and the perception of instability, the Spanish government risks scaring away not just property buyers, but other types of foreign investment as well. Once that trust is lost, it can be difficult to regain. Now, I want to point out something specific about this announcement. The announcement said up to 100% tax. This is one of those areas where you have to really look at the wording. It's like when you're walking by a store and you see a big sign that says 50% off. They make you think that everything is 50% off, but when you get up close to the sign, it says up to 50% off. That just means that your discount could be anywhere from 0 to 50%. And in the case of this new property purchase tax proposal in Spain, it sounds like some loose wording intended to intimidate, but that has left a lot of gray area for speculation and nuance. I think one of the things that bothers me about this new proposal and that leaves me waiting for more information about what it would actually look like is the fact that it doesn't consider the whole picture. Does Spain have a massive amount of tourism? Yes. They were the second most visited country in the world last year, beyond the United States. Do they have a major housing and affordability crisis for residents in big cities and popular tourist destinations? Yes, that is also true. But my home ownership is in a small town called Pego, and my town, as well as many other small towns, are slowly dying away. Where they once used to thrive off of certain industries like agriculture, that is no longer the case. Children from these families are moving to the cities where they can find work in newer and more prominent industries. After speaking with my attorney, I learned that our town is not only not trying to deter tourists, but they are trying to find ways to encourage them to come and visit or live. They realize that the survival of towns like these depends on that. So that's why a blanket law may help certain locals in Spain, but may also cause significant hardship for others. I think this is where the local governments or the regional governments could have more impact by making laws that are best for their specific municipalities rather than blanket laws for all of Spain. I just filmed a video last week about the new law in the city of Alicante that is banning all new short-term rentals for at least the next 2 years. To me, if that's what they need to do locally to stabilize the housing market, then that's great. They can take action that is specific to their regional needs. I'm going to give another opinion of mine. Not that I think the Spanish government is all that interested in my opinions, but there's another situation that could make the housing market better for everyone in Spain. There are an unreal amount of old homes or buildings sitting empty and in need of renovation. But here's the thing. If you know anything about Spain, you know the bureaucracy is through the roof. So for the cost to renovate a property, especially when you consider all of the hoops you're supposed to jump through, getting permission every time you want to paint a wall or change a countertop inside your house, and then paying a fine just to improve your house, that is a major deterrent to those who might be willing to come in and renovate these properties. Why would anyone spend the money and time to go through that when you could buy a turnkey house for the same price? In my opinion, the benefit to buying a home to renovate is that ultimately it either ends up saving you money or you can make a profit. But if all of that is wiped away by sheer frustration and fees, there's no incentive. I personally think incentivizing investors to work on those properties or even just making it an easier process for locals would help. I just don't believe that there's a single solution to these kind of problems. You have to figure out a balance and use different avenues, all pointed at the same goal of supporting locals and encouraging investment into your economy. Listen, I'm not here to criticize Spain. I think they are facing complex issues that need thoughtfulness and a wide variety of responses to address the nuances. Okay, so let's say you're a non-resident of the EU and you're worried about the implications of this law possibly going into effect. What does this mean for you? Well, first of all, if you already own a home in Spain, to my knowledge, this wouldn't affect any tax you have to pay as a current homeowner. The main consideration would be future sales of the property and possibly having to list at a lower resale value if you ever sell your home, because it would be difficult to lure foreign investors with a double price tag. And that would be assuming this law actually passed. Now, for those of you who do not own homes yet, this is just something you'll want to pay attention to as we learn more about the details of the proposed law and whether or not it has a chance of actually becoming a law. In my opinion, I wouldn't let it deter you from any steps you might be taking, but you should always do your own research and consult a legal or tax advisor in Spain. Now, keep something in mind as well. Let's say that you are wanting to buy a house in Spain and you are also wanting to look at residency options in Spain. Well, if this did become a law, in that case, I would just recommend going through the process to become a resident first and then purchasing your home in Spain. Speaking of becoming a resident in Spain, that is not my expertise, but I recently had the most lovely conversation with Allison from Moving to Spain. I help people learn about how to buy a house in Spain, and they help people learn about moving to Spain. They have a really great roadmap that you can get for free to help you with guidance and resources. And if you ever decide to use any of their packages or consulting services, you can use my Travel to Money code to get a 10% discount. I'll pin that in the comments and put it in the video description. They offer so much help in the areas of immigration, taxes, health insurance, and more. If you are considering moving to Spain, you should definitely check that out. I'm looking to do some videos with them on this channel in the coming months, so if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to stay informed about all things Spain. So getting back to how this might impact you as a buyer, if this law did go into effect, I think it would have the greatest impact on major investors who are buying up a lot of properties and running large-scale short-term rental businesses. And it also has the potential to impact people like me, who are not residents of Spain but want to own a property there to live for a large chunk of the year. I'm not thrilled about the notion, but I do fully support Spain finding balanced solutions that first and foremost support their local residents and also work to support their overall economy. If I were a resident of one of the areas overrun by tourists, I'd be frustrated too. So, what do you think about this proposed law? Would it impact you? Does it scare you and make you want to freeze any plans you have of buying a property? Let's chat about it in the comments. If this video was helpful to you, hit the like button and subscribe to join me every day, where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.